I just finished this hood, so I just wanted to explain how I make them. I don't use a pattern. It's just more about making a shape when I'm making a hood. So I can use any stitches that I want. I decided to use a half double crochet in the back loop only because I just figured it was easy and simple. So when you start the hood, you're going to start, I'm going to spin my head, sorry. You've got a chain down the back. So that's going to be your beginning chain. What I usually do when I do my beginning chain is I hold it right here and I go down to the nape of my neck and I make my chain. If I stretch that down, I make my chain down at the nape of my neck. So you want that chain long enough so it's going to be from the crown down to the nape of the neck. Then you start working up your chain. So I did a half double crochet up to the top. And when I get to the top, it'll start buckling up and doing this little thing. So I try to add some extra stitches, which does help with that. So when I got to the top, I did 3 half double crochets into the very top of my chain and then work right along the other side of the chain and work all the way back down. Now you've created this circle around your chain. So then you chain 2 and then you turn your work and you start working up the chain again. And now you can start working on this one. I did a half double crochet in the back loop only. So I worked up, got to the top, and then I added another couple extra stitches up here. So I did I increased on each side just to give it a little extra curve up there. And then I just kept working down to the bottom, chain 2, and then work up again, and just keep working back and forth. By the third or fourth row, I don't add increases there. I just leave it as B. And just keep working it back and forth and back and forth. I don't usually use measurements when I make a hood. I go by my eye because I've made so many, so I don't usually need to measure. But I did measure this. So this hood is 12 inches from that back point to the front. When I got to about 11 inches, and again, I don't use inches when I crochet, I just use my eye. But because I was doing this for a video, I paid it more attention. So when I got to about 11 inches, I wanted to put a border around it, which I used the half double crochet, front post, back post. And I just did that as I was working my way around as we were doing before. I now changed to front post, back post, half double crochet, worked all the way around my hood, came back around the other way with a half double crochet, found a front post, back post. So now I'm finished with my hood. So it'll be about 12 inches and you already got your length from the back. So now to create the bottom, it's basically if you start in the back, you can hide your seam. I try to use usually a stitch that I don't have to have a seam on it. With this back loop only, you really have to do a seam because you have to turn your work. So I started my my bottom in the very back in the center, and I just half double crocheted across the whole bottom. When I get to the front, just put a few chains here, 4 or 5 chains right in the center, which gives it a little bit of room around your face. And then just keep working your bottom. Now, if I was doing like a half double crochet instead of the back loop only, I could just work that in rounds until I get it long enough. With the back loop only, I had to join after every row and then turn my work to get that look of a back loop only stitch. So I try to find stitches that I don't have to join and turn my work, because then you get that join line, which I hate, and that slows me down. So I try to use stitches that are very simple. What was I going to say? Also, if you get to a point on crochet, it's not about having the right stitch count. And I think everybody worries so much about stitch count. And I always say, if you get to a place and you don't have enough, you need, you find out you're short a stitch, add it. If you need an extra stitch, add it. Don't be afraid to add a stitch or take away a stitch. As long as you look at the shape while you're working it, if it's conforming right, you're okay. Add a stitch, take a stitch away wherever you might need it. Don't worry about stitch count, because I think that's the biggest fear that people have when they're doing a pattern. They get it, and they're like, oh no, I don't have the right stitch count, so they rip it all out. Don't rip it out. Just add a stitch. If you're short a stitch at the end of a row, add another stitch to it, and it'll all work out. I wouldn't add another stitch at the end of a row because now you're extending a row. I would add a stitch. Say you're at the end of a row right here, and you realize you're short. And you need to add one. Go back a couple stitches and add an extra stitch in here somewhere, and it'll hide. It really will. So anyway, that's really simple. You can use any stitches you want to make these hoods. You can put, a basic half double crochet. I'm trying to think of the name of it, like the moss stitch, but it's the extended double crochet. That's really pretty with these too. So I've used a lot of different stitches. So with each yarn that you use, you can use any yarn that you want with these, because you're not going by stitch count. You're going by the length and the size. Your head is your best guide. Put it on your head. See if it's long enough. See if it's full enough. See if you've got enough length around the face. Put it on your head. Use your head as a guide instead of using stitches, because if I told you, like, my beginning chain was 35. If I told you to do a 35, your tension is going to be different, so your size is going to be different. So that's why I normally don't like to say what my stitch count is, because I crochet very loosely. So my stitch count is going to be a lot less than somebody who crochets very tightly. So that's why I always say go by size instead of stitch count. But anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. If you need help putting one together, let me know. You can do these longer and add more for more poof around the neck. I just did a short one because I wanted to show you how easy it is to do it. But let me know if you have any questions, and I'm more than willing to help.